Luka, how did the break treat you guys?
Good. Some guys, I guess, got to some warm weather. I was kind of stuck around here and did some training, so with the national team a bit, so it was good on that part. But everyone's refreshed, ready to go.
How has the season progressed, do you think? Like, where is this team at right now after starting the season with 2 losses and it's unbeaten in 3? Where do you think the team is at right now?
I think we're just scratching the surface of like the potential this team has, because I know, first 2 games we had such a great preseason. I was disappointed how we played the first 2 games because it didn't really show how we did in preseason and how we could have played. So for us to bounce back and 2 wins and a tie, last 3 should have been 3 wins. It was obviously a great bounce back, but this team has so much more, and I know we're going to be in many more games, and especially with 6 more games at home, like we're obviously trying to get all 6 wins, but we set our own targets and we need to match them, and I know this team can match them. So we're going in the right direction, but there's so much more potential with this team.
What are you expecting from the Rapids tomorrow?
Physical game. They've obviously started off well too. New coach, I guess a different mindset, and we know they're going to be coming out flying. They're a physical team. They love to press. They have a lot of big bodies, and with the new coach and how they want to play, they're set up to have a physical and intense game. So we're expecting that.
Luka, almost 2 months of competition. How do you feel like personnel, and how's the communication with your backline?
Good. Every day improving. This is obviously a first for me starting for Toronto, and it's definitely had a lot of pressure. But if you're not in this business, if you don't want to deal with pressure, and always improve. So dealing with that, but having experienced guys in front of me and guys that I've known with Richie I've known for a long time, and having Walker and Benny back, and a good mix of young guys, and everyone's getting healthy, it's getting better. So as I said before, this team has so much more potential, and we're building every week.
Any questions on Zoom? Go ahead, James.
Thanks, Alan. Hey, Luka. Have you had to make any adjustments to get yourself into this starting role? How has your day-to-day changed at all?
Day-to-day, nothing really has changed physically. I think just mentally knowing, take every game one by one, and learn from each game, and I think I've done that every game. Obviously, we look back at each game, and you're going to want to do things differently, but if the results are coming, try to leave it in the past and focus on the next game. So it's definitely a tougher mentality when you're starting, and you have no time to really think about the game you just played. It's about the next game. So getting used to that and getting used to being the starter is really, really difficult, but it's a position I'd love to be in, and I'm ready for it every day. So.
Go ahead.
Luka, this 9-match stretch, there's 9 matches left before the big pause for the World Cup. The schedule starts to get a little bit hectic. There's some big games coming up. The Canadian Championship against Ottawa is coming up as well. How are you looking at this little period before the World Cup?
We've already talked about it, like going into the year, even in preseason, this is probably the most important time for us. We know, last year we had a stretch in May where we had a lot of home games in a row, and we didn't capitalize, and it kind of hurt us in the end. But yeah, we're solely focused on these next, I think it's 8 games left. So yeah, getting as many points and really finishing off the first half of the season before the World Cup strong, and this is one of our main goals, because like I said, we know it's probably the most important time of the year. So getting through to the next round can champ and getting as many points as we possibly can before the break is the most important to us right now.
Robin, how did you make time? How did you make use of the time off? Obviously, I assume the boys were in full training. Was there anything specific you guys were working on? How did you pass the time in general?
In general, I spent a lot of time relaxing. Really, that was just last weekend. Other than that, we've just As I said, the first week was really more just working on principle-based things, things that apply in any situation. And this week has just been getting ready for Colorado.
What are you expecting from Colorado? Tactically, what kind of proposition do they put?
They're good, they're young, they're energetic, they occupy some interesting positions in their build-up, and they play with a ton of energy, they get a lot of pressure. They're a good group.
Robin, you were asked this after your last match, but what do you see your team doing well since the last 3 games? You guys are on a point streak. What are you seeing and what are you liking?
I think when we play with urgency, we're very good. But it's urgency from the very beginning. And I've used energy a couple of times, but it's a group that always works. They will always work. Urgency, the difference between that and urgency is taking the initiative. I feel like in the games where we have taken the initiative with the ball, without the ball, then we've been pretty good.
Robin, after 2 months nearly of competition, do you think that the team is getting closer to the version that you want to see on the field?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. There are some really good pieces, good athletes, good footballers, intelligent players, and the mix of players has come together quite well. And now it's just a matter of refining things and getting players on the same page kind of in all scenarios. When you do that, then you have a well-oiled machine, but it takes a little while to get there, but I feel quite positive about the group.
Any special feelings about facing your former club?
No, not really. It's another team that we need to get points off. I feel like this homestand for us is really important, and the focus is on us and continuing to improve. Obviously, there are little tweaks with every team you play because everyone's different, but as long as we continue to move forward, that's the most important thing.
I mean, you coached and you played there too during your career. How do you look back on your time with the Rapids?
I love Denver. I've been there, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 years of my adult life in various different times. So it's a place I have great affinity for. My kids were born there. It's a place that I've spent a lot of time, and I feel like I grew up in Denver a lot. Most of my 20s were spent there. So a ton of affinity for it. My time with the Rapids, interesting, I played with the Foxes prior to the Rapids even existing, then played there with them in MLS, and then went back as a coach. So I've been involved in Colorado soccer for, as long as I've been in soccer, it seems like. So I will always have special feelings about Denver and about my time with the Rapids.
So go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. You talk about the mentality, a lot of the mentality of your team last game. How do you want to see that mentality again tomorrow, for the team?
It's got to be, again, urgency. There's ebbs and flows in games, but certainly the objective is to try to have more of the flows go in your direction. And I think in order to do that, it's a lot about your mindset and about how you start and how you approach a game.
Robin, it's obviously early in the year and everything else, but do you think Josh is getting close to doing his thing, and how important would it be to get him going offensively?
You say getting close to doing his thing. I don't know if you're questioning whether he's been playing well or not, because in my mind he's playing extremely well, and for us it's been about trying to get him physically in a position where he can do it for all season. And that's a reason for not throwing him in from the beginning, is building his fitness, his strength, his agility, all the things that he needs to remain healthy throughout the year. But in terms of what he brings us, you can already see his intelligence in defending, his intelligence and his technical ability in attacking, composure, experience. We see all those things every day. If your question is, when's he going to score? I have very little doubt that he is going to score soon. And certainly the hope is once he starts, he doesn't stop.
Did everyone come back healthy from
Yeah.
international duty? Ben,
Yeah.
Ben had to travel a long way, so.
You would never know.
Okay.
Like the day I saw him, the first day I saw him back, he was exactly the same, as chipper as could be. I know if I came from New Zealand, I would
Right.
be looking pretty tired the next day, but he's such a good professional that I'm sure he's done everything possible to take care of himself. I haven't asked him, but when I see what his behavior is like in training, it's like he played here.
And what's been your take on Derek this year? Because he scored that nice goal. He took his chance really well against Dallas, and you've kind of used him, a little bit here and there. What's been your take on what he's provided this year?
Yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, Derek provided us with a level of consistency as a 9. He's an extremely intelligent player, and he's an extremely intelligent defending, attacking player. And I think that what he did throughout preseason for us was really, really good. Obviously started the first 2 games, and then since then we've had more players come about, and playing time is maybe more sporadic, but there was never a dip in appreciation for what Derek gives us, because I feel like, and I said this to him when I took him off the field, I think the last game of last year, and I said the reason why you play so much is because I can trust you and I can rely on you. And I know that at the end of the day, he does whatever the team needs him to do. I've asked him to play wing back, left wing, right wing, 9, 8. I've asked him to play a lot of different places, and wherever he plays, he gives his best effort. And for a coach, that's a really good thing.
We're going on Zoom. Go ahead, Benedict.
Thank you. Robin, Kosi Thompson obviously returns this weekend as well. Just wondering maybe how you reflect on the years you worked with him, and maybe what you think the emotions will be like for him coming back to his hometown and for his first game with his new club.
I think Kosi has been really good for us. I've only known him a year and a couple months, I guess, but Kosi was really good. We asked him to play a lot of different positions, right back, right center back in a back 4. And wherever you ask him to play, he gives you his best. And that's a really high compliment, because you need players who are willing to do what's asked of them, even if it's not what they want to do. I think Kosi has been a midfielder prior to my coming here, mostly a midfielder. And I do think that his athleticism, his defending, his intensity, speed, power, all of that, we felt like he was more suited to be a defender. And I think in the beginning he was a bit reluctant because he wants to be a midfielder, but he's just proven over time that he's a very solid defender. And asking what it'll be like for him to come back to play against his old team, yeah, I don't think that that'll be a great feeling, and I can speak from 2 personal experiences. I got traded from the Galaxy to the Rapids, and the then coach asked me, I was hurt, this was in 2001, the coach asked me to sit on the bench with the team in street clothes in the Rose Bowl, where I'd been a captain for 3 years. That was extremely, extremely uncomfortable for me. And then the other one that was a similar-ish situation is, I think when I left here in 2019, my 4th game with the Rapids, I'm guessing 3rd, 4th, 5th, one of those, I think it was my 4th game with the Rapids, was back here against this team that I had known so well. And that was also not an extremely comfortable feeling. In fact, I remember a moment in the game where somebody was closing someone down from Toronto, closing down a player on my team, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, so get tighter. I was like, wait, I don't coach him anymore, I coach the other team. So it's I don't think it's a wonderful feeling, especially when it's so early after leaving. Different guys can approach it different ways. I think everybody who gets traded wants to stick it to their old team, so maybe that's the predominant feeling for him. But I know that in my 2 experiences, it wasn't the most comfortable thing to be up against your old team right away.
Go ahead, James.
Thanks, Ali. I've got a couple if there's time. First one, Adam Probman's sent out on loan to Calgary. I just want to know what your thoughts are on that and how you've seen him evolve sort of from last preseason to this preseason.
I think it's such a good thing for Adam because the gains he made last year, the player that I had in preseason in my first couple of days here was very different from the player I had in this last preseason, and I told him so. I thought his decisions were better, he was more authoritative in his decisions, and to play 30 games at a professional level absolutely benefited him. So, and he's still so young. So to go out and get another 30 games, if the kind of improvement we saw within 1 year, if he goes and has another year similar to that, then I think he's going to take a big jump forward. And as a center back and a young center back, it's hard to gain those experiences if you're not playing. So for him to go out on loan, 2 different places, 2 years, you know, I'm sure everyone would like to make it on their team and be there for as long as possible. But oftentimes this is the pathway of young players. And Adam, as far as I'm concerned, what I've seen between last year and this year, this is a really successful venture and a real reason why young players should go on loan.
Robin, this next little stretch, I just want to get you on sort of the landscape ahead. It's 9 matches before the World Cup break, a couple more rounds of this 1 game a week, and then it really starts to ramp up. Just how are you viewing this period?
Yeah, I think it's an important period. We've talked about it a lot. We have this many home games. You don't often see this where you have a stretch of home games this long and this early. And early on, people could have said, well, you know, that means you're going to be playing a lot of games on the road later, and you know, see that as a negative. But I choose to see it as an opportunity to get ahead, because if you play this many games at home and you take care of your home games, by the time this homestand is over, we should be in a pretty good position. So I think all of these games are really important.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Robin, can we just talk about injuries? How's the team's health going into this game? Any new injuries pop up since?
I don't think we have any injuries other than Theo, who's obviously in the midst of rehab. Nix is on the way back. He was in full training yesterday. Henry is training. So all these guys are trending positively. And
Mateus, same?
yeah, Mateus is available to play tomorrow because he's been training for a couple of weeks.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we haven't seen you in a couple of weeks, so you wouldn't know it. But yeah, they've
I haven't seen it for the club.
Yeah.
Be available.
No, he's been training and doing quite well, so that's a significant one for us to get him back for sure. So outside of that, I really think, you know, Nix, Henry, and they're on the way back, and then Theo.
Go ahead, James.
Thanks again, Ali. Robin, I'm not sure how closely you're tracking MLS Next Pro's Rising Star of the Week, but there have been a couple of interesting names through the early season. Fletcher Bank had himself a game against NYCFC a couple weeks ago. And a young Dylan Vanny making his first steps in the pro game. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
What's Dylan done? I don't know.
I think he just scored a couple goals in the first few weeks and was star of the week.
Yeah, he's been doing well. He's been doing well since last year. This is Dylan I'm talking about now. He has shown real ability to be impactful at this level, certainly toward the end of last year, or maybe for all of last year. And then going into this year, I think he is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and he's just proving it more and more with every time he goes out. With regard to Fletcher, Fletcher certainly had good moments for us in preseason. He's a very direct sort of winger who's good at running at people and a good crosser on the run. And I think that players like that, there'll always be a place for players like that. You know, obviously there are things he still needs to learn as a young player, but I think his natural skill set lends itself toward a good professional career.